Alright, this is a 1985 Chevy K10 Custom Deluxe, 4-wheel drive, V8 4-speed. Gonna do a little walk around video of it here. Open the doors, kick the tires and all that. It's got a real solid body on it. It's got new matching door locks in the doors, a new key switch. Now this truck actually is black from the factory with red interior. I couldn't find all the red interior pieces, and I had these just had these door panels redone in black. It's just got a black seat cover on the seat, as you can see. It's still a red seat underneath, and the seat's not in bad shape. It's got one tear right here in the seam where the threads let loose. Still got the red seat belts. Seat belts, you can actually still get those new in any color. It does have a new dash pad, not one of those overlays, cover lays. This is from CJ Pony Parts, I believe. Should be the same dash as LMC sells. Of course, 4-speed, 4-wheel drive, everything works right. Just crank this thing up, let it run while it's got electric choke. Got a brand new Edelbrock carburetor and intake. Choke's hooked up and works right. She's a little cold coated. Oil pressure gauge does work in the dash. Amp gauge works. As far as I know, the temperature gauge works, but it's the intake that I put on there that had a different spot for the thermostat sending unit. So right now it's got these two gauges a previous owner had put, and I'm just running off those for now. So I'll go ahead and pop the hood here. So the previous owner had the motor put in. It's supposed to be, I think he said a Jasper crate motor. It still had the factory intake and Edelbrock and Quadrajet on it, which weren't in great shape. So went ahead and changed those and put a set of valve covers on it while I was at it. Needed gaskets anyway. It's got a new water pump from O'Reilly's put on it. The day I brought it home, it was already leaking in the weep hole. So this truck had sat for about 5+ years in a barn. The previous owner that had it since it was basically new, from my understanding, got in bad health and passed on. They owned a farm in Coleman, Alabama, and the family just kind of swapped it back and forth, and eventually it ended up in the barn. The old motor seems to still run good. It's got good oil pressure, no knocks. I put about somewhere around maybe 1,500 miles on the truck since I've owned it. I'll just start with the first things that I've done. The rear end. When I went to check the brakes and everything out on the rear end, I noticed the axles a little slack there. So looked further and decided I was going to go ahead and put axles in it. And so I put axles, seals, bearings, the planetary gears, or spider gears as people call them. I had a little wear in the chrome, so I went ahead and put gears and the whole 9 yards in the rear end. Should have receipts for all those parts that I bought. Went ahead and put a U-joint in the rear of the drive shaft. Front U-joint was solid. The truck itself, somebody's put fuel tanks in it. A fuel tank in it. It's got a single. Somebody's put a fuel tank in it at some point. Up under the wheelhouses and everything is real solid. The bed itself is real solid. You know, nothing going crazy on the frame. Nobody's ever come in here and really soaked it down with undercoating or anything, trying to hide anything. I mean, you can see it's still got the unleaded fuel sticker on it. This truck hardly was on the road from my understanding. These people just mostly had cattle and hay farm, and the old man had a fifth wheel hitch to put a gooseneck to haul hay with from field to field. So it's got 4 holes right there in the bed. That's about the gist of it on that. I'll get up here and we'll go over some more mechanical stuff first before I get into the body anymore. The front end, just had tires put on this at Walmart about 500 miles ago. Probably not even 500. It's made, let me think. It's made 3 trips. Yeah, probably between about 350 and 500 miles on the tires. So it's got brakes all the way around it. All the fluids, brake fluid, any transfer case, transmission, rear end, all the fluids changed. The front end, I took it apart just to service it. I took the automatic lockers out, put some new Warren heavy duty lockers in it. I actually when I bought the rear end parts, I went ahead and bought all the front end parts, Spicer, good quality parts. I got the inner and outer bearings, inner and outer seals, axle bearings, everything for it. When I took it apart, it looked like somebody had just put bearings in it. It had fresh grease in it, so I went ahead and I didn't even use my parts. I've still got all those parts for the front end that will actually go with it. New ball joints, whole 9 yards. Everything except axles and gears, basically, for the front end is what I have as far as rebuilding the front end wise. The air conditioner was removed long before I ever owned it, so I do not have a compressor with it or the 2 lines that'll go to the compressor. The mounting bracket is still over here, as you can see. It had a brake master cylinder put on it just before I got it. I put a clutch master cylinder, clutch slave cylinder, and a new line on it. Let's see what else. And when they put this motor in this truck, they had just put a clutch, pressure plate, throwout bearing, all that in it. All the clutch is super smooth. The truck runs out great, drives great. It's got a good front end alignment on it. I put new window felt and belt moldings and felt seals, run channel, lubed up all of the regulators, got all that, made sure everything's working good and smooth. The lights, of course you can't tell right here, the lights work correct. I believe it's got the bulb is out probably behind the fuel. You just barely see it at night. The rest of the lights light up at night, and the dimmer and all works. Interior light works with the door or the switch. Windshield wipers work, not on high. That was a problem with these and the older ones in the motor itself. And I would assume that's what that is. Here it is right here. And it's got a 2-speed transmission in there, and the high-speed contact, I believe is right, saying it right, will go out on those. But they do work on low. It's got an old Pioneer radio. The heat works and everything like it's supposed to, but just like the wipers, you put it on high, it doesn't work. Usually that's not the switch, it's usually in the motor itself, in the high side of the motor. Cannot confirm nor deny, but it is what it is. Let me open this other side up. So all the doors, everything's super solid. The latches all work good. There's no sign that I can tell. I do collision repair and used to do restorations quite a bit. I can't see anywhere any sign that anybody's ever put any new sheet metal or rockers or anything, or had to replace anything as far as structural to the body or to the frame, anything like that. I know it's hard to really see on this cell phone video. I'm trying to do the best I can. The only place that this thing had anything as far as rust or rot is this replaceable panel. That's the inner wheelhouse on the right side. When we got it out of the barn that I bought it from, the battery had leaked all down and had rusted out that wheelhouse and part of the battery tray. So that's not an expensive part at all, and it all bolts in. So it could use a wheelhouse and a battery tray in it. It's missing this marker light here. Of course, if you're gonna restore it or anything, you probably want to put new marker lights. It's got a dent in the chrome on this grill. Those pieces can be bought separate. Still got the VIN sticker in the door here. Overall, it's a real solid old truck. A couple other common places that they rust from these drip rails. This one looks mighty fine and solid. Still got the factory spot welds in there, so pretty confident none of that's ever been messed with. One of the best parts about these trucks, tailgate actually works like it's supposed to. Show you over here, all this cab looks good around here like it's supposed to. Around a windshield post. This truck had a, this is probably the worst of anything, and it's just some surface rust. I promise you, it's plenty solid. It's not rusted through. These the window felts were all gone in this window, and it was parked kind of sideways on a hill, and this carpet had got wet. Not carpet, it had a rubber mat with that insulation, carpety insulation on the bottom of it. Anyway, so that was the result of that. But absolutely no harm done there. It's underneath of the truck is just, you can look at all the bolts and all the seams, all the average places, you know, that they would generally rust up. And it's a pretty solid old truck. All the windows go up and down nice and smooth like they need to. All the lights on the outside work. Horn works. Fuel gauge works correctly. Speedometer works. The heat definitely works because it's burning me out already. Crank her back up here. That's the gist of it. Got the granny 3-speed, granny 4-speed, whatever you want to call it, 4-speed with the granny low. Like most of these, you put it up into third gear. If you get on it real hard and you're not holding the weight of the shifter up, it will pop out of gear sometimes. There's two different things that cause that. One is this preload spring in the shifter, which this one is really, really weak. And that's what the case is more than likely on this situation. The other situation that will cause that is the actual third gear itself will wear, and I think in 91 they did an upgrade on this transmission to stop that. I grew up with Ford and Chevrolet 1 ton, 3/4 tons, 4-speed trucks. You could hold the transmission in third as hard as you wanted to, and they would still kick it out against your hand. This one, you just hold the weight of the shifter up, and you can drive it any way you want in third. If you're driving it regular, you don't have to hold the shifter up. But if you're getting on it pretty good, you just hold the weight of the shifter up, and it will not jump out of third. Trying to think of any other little quirks that I can think of. The wing glass vents. Funny, people have asked me, but yes, they do open and close. These rubber washers are gone right here, so in the switch, so it's a little floppy there, and the seals aren't perfect. They will whistle at you. But as far as a dependable driving truck and a solid truck, for the price, you're going to be hard pressed to find anything any cheaper without going through a whole bunch of mess with it. But that's about all I got on it. About all I got. I bought it back in April. Gave top dollar for it, and it did crank and run and drive. The tires were rotted off of it. The brakes barely worked. Couldn't even use the clutch. It needed all the clutch masters and all that changed. So it's come a long way. It's came a long way. Like I said, I've got everything to go with it as far as it doesn't need the front end rebuilt, but I've got all the brand new parts to rebuild the front end at some point if somebody wanted to. The rear end's already been rebuilt. It's fully tuned up. All new fluids changed, front to rear. New fuel pump, water pump, carburetor, intake, valve covers and gaskets, oil pressure sending unit. I got a bag of receipts this thick for stuff that I can't even think about right now that I've put into this truck, because mainly I was building it, me and my son, and I wanted to make sure it was dependable for him. It was something he was going to keep. So now he's decided he wants to do an older car. He's got two he's got two trucks, so he's decided he wants a car. So that's pretty much it. Any other questions? Be glad to discuss them over the telephone. And that's all for now. Thanks for watching.